Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the 82 Alliance A Better Tomorrow webinar series. We're very excited today to have a phenomenal group of speakers on Earth Day of all days. So good timing that we're all virtual on Earth Day, which is wonderful, and excited to have everyone join us today. So as you filter in, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, just please put it into the chat, and then we'll answer those after the three presentations are over. For those that don't know me, my name is Rob Henry. I'm the president of the 82 Alliance, and I'm excited to have you all joining us today. And I'm going to go through a few things about the 82 Alliance and then introduce our three speakers. And we'll see if I have control. Let's see. So it is not flipping, Caitlin. So I guess best laid plans. So a couple things, if you're not familiar with the 82 Alliance, so a nonprofit mobility think tank focusing on we reimagine how people move throughout our communities. So we're a 501c3, and we're still kind of in the growth phase. We'll be announcing some new programs and new board of directors. Some people here may be on that board of directors coming forward as we wrap up some of the final members of that. So we're excited to bring both the public and private sectors together to work to create a better tomorrow. And as we think about the challenges that we have from a climate perspective, from a mobility perspective, from an equity perspective, and how do we work that together so that everyone can have an opportunity to excel and grow. You can flip, Caitlin. So we also just started a membership campaign a few months back, and our goal is to get to 82. So if you're not a member, we'd love to have you. You can find all the information on our website. You can see some of the new members. This is our first batch of members. We have some more that have joined since then, but we're excited to have some great organizations supporting the 82 Alliance as we continue to grow this effort and work with others. So, reach out. If you have any questions about it, please let us know, but you can also find that on our website. Okay. And there are the 82 Alliance actually membership information. So we have our champion level, advocate level, and supporter level. So one of the things with the champion, as we unveil our Better Tomorrow Award applications in the near future, there are different tiers which we'll have structured in place. So if you're a member, you can apply to that. If you're not, you can apply, but there'll still be a cost associated with that. So we're trying to work to help grow the 82 Alliance. You can flip, Caleb. Some of the things that we're doing as far as programs are webinar series like this, our Better Tomorrow Awards, which I just referenced, and those will be awards geared towards similar, if you're familiar with LEAD, as for the building side, we're looking at the mobility side of that and developing those awards that are going to focus and highlight on those organizations, universities, nonprofits, advocates, for-profit corporations that are doing things, and it can be transit authorities as well that are looking to do and enhance our collective mobility. We also have our educational programs, our networking events, training, which we're developing, and also starting to develop research, which we've done in the past. Flip. If you haven't seen, get a little idea of what we've done last year. We have our year in review online that just came out from 2023. So I encourage you to look through that. We partnered with Action Figure and did our first workplace journey survey, looking at how people were getting to and from work throughout the country. We also held an event in Philadelphia in 2023. It was our second mobility conference, and a lot of good information in there. If you're interested, that's online on our website as well. You can flip, Caitlin. So as I mentioned, the Better Tomorrow Awards, so the applications will be out soon. We're going through right now, basically drafting those and putting those out for others. So there'll be different tiers and different levels. So I encourage you to look at that and apply. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Maureen, who's on here, and Caitlin from our team. You can flip, Caitlin. And then we have the dates for our 2024 Mobility Conference. So we're looking at an event in Philadelphia, October 8th and 9th. Stay tuned for more information as that becomes available, but I encourage you to put it on your calendars. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please let us know, but as of October 8th and 9th in Philadelphia. Okay. Caitlin, you can flip. So we're very excited to have our speakers today, and we have three dynamic professionals, and I'm going to read you their bios to get a better understanding of just how awesome they all are. So we're excited to have them, and we're going to kick it off with Michael Randolph, followed by Jen Waters, and then Lynn Smith. So I'll read their bios, and then we'll get the program started. So Michael Randolph is Assistant Director of Campus Mobility Services at Princeton University. Michael holds a BA in Economics from the University of Rhode Island and completed graduate courses in MS Organizational Dynamics at the University of Pennsylvania. He has over 20 years of paratransit fleet management, procurement, contract compliance, TDM, and higher education experience. He has had an extensive career in both public and private transit and transit demand management and micromobility services. In addition, P&L management and operational staff development, including services and fixed route, charter, on-demand, fleet maintenance, and third-party contracted service oversight. He has participated in numerous project committees and advisory committees on the expansion of transit and mobility-focused initiatives on local, regional, state, and on the federal level. He enjoys outdoor activities that keep him on two wheels, and you may see him on his motorcycle, mountain bike, or even enjoying the beach life with family and friends. So excited to have Michael join us. We also have Jennifer Waters, who has been with Urban Engineers for over 20 years and serves as the Vice President of the Philadelphia Regional Manager. Jen is a registered professional engineer in 6 states and has years of diverse environmental and sustainability experience. Her background includes providing sustainable solutions to complex infrastructure, residential, commercial, industrial, educational, and recreational property development, redevelopment projects. She's earned a bachelor's degree in environmental systems engineering from Penn State and her master's in engineering management from Drexel University. Jen currently serves on the board of Greater Valley Forge TMA and the board of WTS, the Women's Transportation Seminar. She's active in the Urban Land Institute and American Society of Civil Engineers, where she was a contributing author of the 2022 Pennsylvania Infrastructure Report Card. Jen is also a co-founder and co-chair of Urban's Women's Professional Network, an organization whose mission is to provide professional guidance to all women with Urban through mentoring and networking. And next up after Jen, we'll have Lynn Smith. So Lynn is Amtrak's Vice President of Strategy and Planning. In this role, she guides the development of Amtrak's overall strategic vision and works across departments to identify improvements for Amtrak's national network and assets. Lynn is also part of the team advancing the growth of Amtrak's route networks, including the development and maintenance of Amtrak strategic plans, such as the long-range plan, the 5-year plan, and the annual operation plan. She also oversees the efforts of Amtrak's commercial services and sustainability teams. She joined Amtrak after nearly 30 years in transportation consulting, successfully leading a variety of transportation projects for railroads, transit agencies, metropolitan planning organizations, departments of transportation throughout North America. Her areas of expertise include capital and long-range planning, corridor studies, master plans, and policy development for multiple modes of transportation, including bus, light rail, commuter rail, and intercity passenger rail. She received a bachelor's degree in civil and architectural engineering from Drexel University and a master's of business administration degree with an emphasis in operation management and marketing from Villanova University. She's a certified planner with the American Institute of Certified Planners, and she resides in Wallingford, PA with her husband and 3 sons. So as you can see, as I read all that, we have 3 very dynamic, 3 very experienced professionals, and we're very blessed to have you and excited to hear from each of you. So I'm going to first turn it over to Michael to talk about his work at Princeton.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, once again, my name is Michael Randolph, and I, of course, have to thank Rob, Maureen, and Caitlin from the 82 Alliance team for putting this series together. Thanks to my fellow panelists for their personal inspirations and belief in a better tomorrow. And special thanks to Charlie Tennyson, our Executive Director at Princeton University's Transportation and Parking Services, for his full support. I could actually spend weeks talking about Princeton's expansive campus plans, but I need you to visit our website and explore all of the groundbreaking projects, people, and partnerships making all things possible. Next, Caitlin. Let me start with 3 key action plans, all developed within 5 years. All of the exciting things we are doing, starting with our leadership, come from our Princeton University campus plan, our sustainability action plan, and based on shared goals and benefits, transportation was able to move forward with our mission, the campus mobility principles. Next. Before I share the good news stories about transportation and parking, affectionately known as TPS, I'd like to spend 5 minutes on how Princeton University is going to meet these ambitious goals. My colleague, Karen Fanning, gave me some key highlights from our facilities department to share with you. Eventually, there will be 2,000 bores underground in bore fields throughout the campus. And as you see on the slide, this is our Meadows neighborhood. This is one of our new graduate housing facilities opening up as of Friday last week. And underneath that baseball field, you could see there were over 156 geo-exchange bores, 600 feet deep. Now, typically across campus, they are 850 feet deep. It's equivalent to 30 Rockefeller Plaza, which is the Comcast building in New York City. That's about 66 stories high, 260 meters, or 0.16 miles. And that's a long way up, and even longer if you're falling down. Next slide. Each one of these dots represents new piping under the campus. The bores will store water at 55 degrees below grade. Think of that temperature while in your basement below ground level. This initiative has a multi-purpose for energy efficiency. An example, the university gets to replace steam pipes over 100 years old. As we say, pay me now or pay me later. And we can convert 200 plus buildings, our colleges, dorms, faculty, staff, and administrative buildings at one time. Imagine digging up the campus every time we need to repair a steam pipe. I don't want to even think about it. The primary focus to achieve net zero impact will be geo-exchange. Next slide. The TIGER plan, acronym for Thermally Integrated Geo-Exchange Resource. This is an amazing building. In addition to the main TIGER building, we have 2 thermal energy storage tanks, 2 electrical transformers, and a natural gas generator, all located on the project site. Now, I was fortunate enough to get a tour before completion, and now when I see the finished operation, I'm more amazed. The plant is a critical piece of infrastructure that allows Princeton to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2046. Next slide. We are also installing over 13 miles of new underground hot water distribution pipes to convert from steam to hot water heat. Eventually, new hot water pipes and new systems will enable every campus building to use geo-exchange heating and cooling. We have converted our cogen plant, already well known for its reliability and energy efficiency, from a chilled water plant and combined heat and power steam plant to a renamed West plant with hot water geo-exchange technology. The cogen will actually operate together with TIGER, so each can partially back up the other. Next. Now, this chart shows you how we break down the strategies. The pipes and bores are in the blue. Renewable and solar are in the green. And EV buses and future fleet expansions are in the orange. TIGER is actually powered with renewable electricity with the intent of significantly reducing the university's carbon footprint. That moves me into our solar expansion project. We have approximately 20% of campus with solar panels, and we buy clean electric off the grid as an example from wind turbines in New Jersey. On the right, this is our Lot 20 surface lot with complete solar panel coverage on our secondary EV charging location. And that's 2 chargers feeding 5 dispensers at the far north end of this photo. We also have our stadium drive garage, we call it, which houses 65 level 2 Clipper Creek chargers on our first and lower levels. And at this time, there is no fee charging. So you can check the parking website for requirements for visitor permits and charging access. We also have other garages, one called Thea Garage, which is home to 10 public use chargers. Our Prospect Garage is home to 10 public use chargers also. Our new Meadows Garage in our Meadows neighborhood is home to 40 public use chargers. And our lot 20 that you see in the picture here is future planning. We're looking to house about 20 public use chargers. So now, next, Caitlin, sorry. Now I'd like to switch gears and hope you enjoy my little 3-minute campus mobility principles mission video. I think it'll be exciting to watch.
The campus mobility principles are 10 principles that distill what we learned from our stakeholder engagement and will really provide guidelines for us as a campus and how it will grow and how the physical campus will change into the future.
I think everyone on campus can find themselves represented in the principles from this project, and we hope that everyone will consider them and think about the importance of safety, accessibility for everyone, and just the importance of making the campus an easy, safe place to walk and move around and do the great things that this campus is so well known for.
The campus mobility principles. 1. Nearly all movement around campus is human-powered and low emission. 2. Campus is designed to be compact, walkable, and easy to serve with transit. 3. Alternatives to driving are plentiful and easy for everyone to use. 4. When designing a place, ask first how pedestrians and bikes will use it. 5. The campus is built and maintained so that all people have access, including when they have a disability. 6. Campus streets and paths don't just move people, they also carry ideas and conversations. 7. Walking and biking is so appealing that few people choose transit for short trips. 8. It's clear which modes have priority on each street and path. 9. Motorized vehicles are mostly behind the scenes to limit their impact on the campus experience. And 10. The university works with partners to improve transportation in nearby communities.
There are some really exciting things that we've already been able to put in place as a result of the campus mobility framework. One example are the College Road and Lawrence Drive bike and pedestrian advisory lanes. These are lanes that create more space for bike and pedestrians to share the road safely.
I discovered them and I thought, wow, these bike lanes are a huge improvement because now the cars go more slowly and it's safer for everyone.
We've also got a new transit network. We think that's way easier for people to understand and to use. Buses come more frequently, and it creates an all-day connection between the campus and the town of Princeton and Princeton Junction and the Northeast Corridor so that people might catch trains to New York or Philadelphia.
Coming from Manhattan, I have noticed a change in Tiger Transit and the availability of more options for taking the Tiger Transit train from Princeton Junction.
And then, of course, we have Tiger Access. Tiger Access is a new service that's a reservable van service that people with disabilities or with injuries can use to make trips across campus on a reserved basis.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that Princeton has added the Tiger Access service. It's really great to know that I can be picked up anywhere and brought anywhere where I need assistance.
And we're really excited to see the new electric Tiger Transit fleet rolling on campus very soon.
I hope that people will continue to see how our principles can apply on campus today and in the future. And I hope they will continue to keep them in mind in their own work as they contribute to our community.
Great. So now you know 10 of our guiding principles and directives. So transportation and parking services, as I said, TPS, the ecosystem of campus mobility planning. The picture on the left, that is a photo from our Tiger Transit EV operations facility grand opening ceremony, which took place in October of 2023. I spoke about the importance of partnerships, and we had many. From our Department of Public Safety to our facilities operations group, to our housing and real estate group, to our capital projects group, all the way down to Office of Sustainability. Many of you, of course, already made transportation plans, and many have ended up as a report stuck on the shelf. Our campus plans bring to life year-long efforts, partnerships, and engagement with transit, the university community, and the outcomes we are delivering, like collaboratives and advisory committees, working groups, and the like. Next. So let me tell you about these dinosaurs. We had 12 32-foot Eldorados and 4 cutaways, a total fleet of 16. Currently, we have 17 EVs, 100% electric. We expanded service, but only added 1 additional vehicle with improved frequencies and reliabilities. Next. So, Tiger Transit's principles of service overview. We wanted to be clear and deliberate in creating our service model and listen to our university riders, our grad students, undergrads, student athletes, faculty, and staff. Because most routes will be expected to attract high ridership, usually at or above 20 boardings. Some of those routes and services will be needed even if they do not attract 20 boardings. Our fixed routes that meet these guidelines may require people to walk, and the university buildings that are costly and not practical to reach with transit. We've started a TPS-sponsored Lift Pass program where we actually provide 24 rides with $20 per ride pass to and from campus for faculty, which is a really great program. Next. So let's talk a little bit about our charging stations. Our operations run out of our 755 Alexander, and there we have 8 chargers and 16 dispensers connected through PSE&G. Our backup charging station is in lot 20, as I mentioned, with 2 chargers and 5 dispensers, and directly connected to Princeton University's energy grid. We have dynamic charging and recently launched smart charging on 10 out of the 16 dispensers with ChargePoint as we continue our full implementation. Next. Tiger Transit improvements are increasing ridership as our system evolves, because we have found a way to improve wayfinding, technology, improve frequencies. As you can see on the left, our ridership continues to grow. We're averaging about 48% growth over the last 6 months, which is phenomenal. Next. We work very closely with county, Princeton Township, because they own county roads, Princeton owns roads through campus, and so we work closely with them and our partners to create improved shared pathways, and these are all in the works. We're looking at some really great ideas that are going to connect the campus from north to south and east to west. Next. So thank you for attending, and now I'll pass it back to Rob.
Great. Thank you, Michael. It's very exciting. And for anyone that just joined, if you have questions, you can put them into the chat and then we'll ask those at the end of the presentation. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jen Waters.
Great. Thanks so much, Rob. And thanks, Maureen and Caitlin, for having me here today. And of course, I'm so thrilled to be here with Michael and Anna Lynn as panelists. Really excited to talk with you about what Urban Engineers has been working on in the TDM and mobility realm. That's really going to help establish those benchmarks for creating a better tomorrow, which is, the mission of the 82 Alliance. Okay, so let me see if I can change the slides here, Caitlin. Oh, okay, looks like it worked for me. So, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by providing a background on Urban Engineers, since I'm not sure everybody on the call is familiar with my organization. I'll talk about our history and our evolution in the mobility and TDM space, and then I'm going to provide you with an overview of a few TDM projects we're currently working on or have completed recently in the Philadelphia region, and one project is actually in the central New Jersey region. So Urban Engineers is a multidisciplinary environmental planning, engineering, and construction support firm. And we provide these services within 4 key market areas. The first market area is surface transportation. So that's anything roadway, bridge, highway, traffic related. We do these projects for, several different public clients, the DOTs, turnpike authorities, municipalities and cities. Those are our major clients in those regions, in that market area. And then a second market area is rail and transit. So we do all sorts of, the engineering, construction support, environmental planning for passenger rail organizations, public transit organizations, freight rail companies. And we do everything from, track, catenary work, through, any sort of facility, bus facilities, rail facilities, operations and maintenance facilities. So you name it, we do it in the rail and transit realm. And then aviation is a third market area for us. And so similar to rail and transit, we do this type of work for, large public airports. We do it for small private airports, for military bases. And again, it's everything from the landside work, runways, tarmacs, any sort of stormwater management, all the way, through facility work. So terminal work, rental car facilities, again, anything in the transportation infrastructure realm. And then our fourth market area is buildings and development. And this market line is a little bit deceiving because, of course, it encompasses, facilities work that we do on structures and buildings, but it also encompasses work that we do for ports and waterways, organizations and facilities. So, any sort of dredging work or improving berthing facilities or piers, any sort of waterfront recreational structures. And then within this market line, we also include, open space projects, park projects, and trail projects. So, all of those are transportation related and mobility related as well. So as you can see, urban, our bread and butter is really infrastructure and transportation. And our organization was founded about 60 years ago. And, since our inception, we've always worked to find solutions on improving transportation efficiency and transportation choices, which is why our markets extend across several different modes of transportation. And this is still our mission today. We're still working to optimize transportation efficiency and improve travel mobility. And now more than ever, we're working to connect those transportation modes and make them more accessible. So, as Rob mentioned in my introduction, I've worked at Urban for over 20 years. So I've been in the transportation infrastructure industry for over 20 years, but I'm also an environmental engineer by background. So very excited that it's Earth Day today. Again, happy Earth Day to everybody. But, the point is that, I'm extremely passionate about TDM, not only from a mobility standpoint, but also from an air quality and carbon footprint perspective. So I am going to now talk about a few projects that we're working on. And I did have a small part in these projects, but I do want to give a shout out to Abby Gantz, who I think is on the call, who really was a key leader in a couple of these projects I'm going to talk about. Abby really has led the design effort for the first two projects I'm going to talk about here. So the first project is reinventing Old City Market Street in Philadelphia between 2nd Street and 6th Street. And for those that aren't familiar with this area in Philadelphia, this is, in the historic district. It's very close to Independence Hall, the Liberty Bell, Carpenter's Hall, all of those historic areas and buildings in Philadelphia. And so this project is part of the Vision 2026 framework created by the City of Philadelphia to enhance the community by creating multimodal connected public spaces for its neighborhoods. And the Vision 2026, that name 2026, that's a very important year in Philadelphia. It's the year of our semi-quincentennial, and that's a very fancy word for the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, which of course happened in 1776 in Independence Hall, which is, steps away from this project and from this, roadway corridor that you're looking at right now. So, the city is really trying to prepare for that. We're expecting an influx of folks coming into the city to celebrate the 250th anniversary. And, Philadelphia wants to make sure that they can accommodate those folks, but not only accommodate them, make sure that they have a really, positive experience so that they want to come back again. And then on top of that, in 2026, Philadelphia is also hosting a couple of World Cup games and the MLB All-Star Game. So a lot is happening. And we're really trying to get a lot of these great projects completed by that time. So this is one of those projects, and the intent of this project is to reinvent this corridor, the Old City Market Street corridor, by improving pedestrian spaces, improving bicycle route connectivity, and also the transit stops. And again, these are all gateways into that historic district and the business district, which also occurs along Market Street. So what we're looking at right now in this picture is Market Street. And this is what it looks like right now, where it's in the final design phases. So, you know, it's going to be changing soon, but this is the current state. It's 2 lanes in each direction. As you can see, if you kind of look further ahead, there's no turn lanes. There's no bike infrastructure. So bicyclists have to, you know, share the road with the cars, and there's not a lot of, you know, leeway room. So you have to weave in and out of cars. So it's not a great place to bike. Really, it's not a great place to drive because there are no turn lanes. And I mentioned this is a business district, so there's a lot of businesses that receive deliveries here. And you can see this Pepsi truck over on the right-hand side. And this is actually a very rare occurrence where this delivery truck can get a spot in an actually designated parking spot. Typically, these delivery trucks are blocking a lane. And for those that have driven along this corridor, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you're typically kind of weaving in and out of traffic along this area, or stop vehicles. So it's not a great place to drive either. So, you know, our designers were tasked with, you know, the question, what do we do? And fortunately, there was really strong vision and set of goals set by the Old City District, which is a business improvement district, a group of folks that are really, you know, focused on improving this Old City area. And a couple of their goals were, you know, they wanted to be a world-class walking neighborhood. They wanted to cultivate people, get more residents, get more workers and visitors to come to this area. They wanted to, of course, enhance and protect the historic and creative character of this area, and, you know, improve connectivity and encourage car-free travel. So what did we do? You know, what was the plan here? So let me just try to get to the next slide. Okay, here we go. So this is a cool simulation here. This is what, you know, it will look like, and we hope it's going to look like this soon. What was designed was what's called a road diet, which is where we condensed the road from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. And, you know, this might seem counterproductive, but really, with the, you know, delivery trucks blocking a lane of traffic typically, and no turn lanes, this is really going to help the flow of traffic. And this also helps calm traffic because it's a lot harder to speed when you can't pass folks. So just having that 1 lane really does calm traffic speeds as well. Reducing the width of this road also, you know, shortens the pedestrian crossing distances as well. So it's a little bit safer for pedestrians to cross at the intersections. The design incorporates these separated bike lanes. So you can see these bicyclists up on the curb here. They're raised, so they're safer, they're outside of traffic, and they're also protected by this parking lane. What's not in the picture is there are some bus bump outs, which that's, you know, going to help the boarding and deboarding process, making you know, the transit option in this area, which is the bus route, you know, a little bit more efficient. And there's also signal upgrades that are incorporated as part of this to really improve the pedestrian experience. So they're going to upgrade the equipments to give them pedestrians more time to cross, you know, give them lighted times to give them a visual indication of how long it's going to cross. So the intent, so really what all these improvements are going to do is it's going to provide a safe and efficient corridor that's going to serve existing traffic and also allow for safer mobility of those non-motorized modes of transportation. And it will also support local businesses. So that's a quick overview of Old City Market Street. Now I'm going to go on to the next project I wanted to talk about, which is the Roosevelt Boulevard Direct Bus Project. And I'm going to talk about the Direct Bus Project, but this is part of an overarching program called the Route for Change, which is a really big project along the Roosevelt Boulevard. And for those that aren't familiar with Roosevelt Boulevard, it's a extremely busy road in Philadelphia. And in fact, it's one of Philadelphia's most dangerous roads. Portions of this road are, you know, like a traditional freeway where there's exits and no intersections, but a really large portion of this road cuts through a very heavily residential and commercial area. It's a 12-lane divided highway with signalized intersections. And so while there are signalized pedestrian crossings, you know, these crossings are really far apart. You know, sometimes they're even a quarter of a mile apart. So you can imagine sometimes folks that are walking don't want to walk, you know, to the closest intersection because it's so far. So this leads to people jaywalking, which is crazy because I'm going to show you a picture of what this looks like. It's hard to see from these pictures, but if you look at it from Google, you know, you can see they've got to get from this side here, which hopefully you can see my arrow, all the way across here. And so even when they are at a signalized intersection, you know, it takes several rounds of those traffic signal cycles to get from one end to the other. So it really is not even a safe place to walk at the intersections. And I'm sure some folks on this call have heard, you know, there have been a few studies done of the most dangerous intersections in this country, and a couple of intersections on this roadway have made that list a few times. I think it's been improved. There's some speed enforcement cameras along the boulevard now, which, you know, has helped out a bit, but you know, there's still a lot of work to do. So that's a high level look at, you know, the pedestrian crossings. I wanted to talk a bit about public transportation because that's really what Urban worked on for this. So for public transportation along the boulevard, their only public transit option is a bus at this point. There's no subway, there's no, you know, train that hops on, you know, right along along Route 1. So there's several transit bus routes, and, you know, traditionally, and you have several stops all along the boulevard. But it takes a long time. And I mean, traditionally, it would take you probably twice as long to travel by a bus rather than by a car. So, you know, it really is kind of an inequitable solution to transit for those that don't have access to a vehicle. It just takes them so much longer to get from one side of the boulevard, you know, into Center City or vice versa. So there's a major initiative underway, as I mentioned, this Route for Change, to make Roosevelt Boulevard a more inviting corridor that's safe, accessible, and reliable for all users. And so an early action item of this program was a bus rapid transit type express bus service along the boulevard. And a bus rapid transit system is a bus-based public transport system designed to decrease travel time and increase reliability. And it also incorporates other design features to improve safety and reduce delays, and just really to improve the overall transit experience for those using the service. So, you know, these can be things like improved boarding and deboarding features, you know, the way that you're paying fares and wayfinding, and just things like landscaping and improved lighting. So that's what we were tasked with. Urban designed all of the rapid bus transit stations. We did all of the environmental work to clear all of the station areas to make sure that, you know, we got all of the approvals and environmental clearances for this work. We did all of the utility coordination, stakeholder coordination, and also provided support during construction. So that was a really exciting project. And actually this is, it's actually currently in service now. So I'm not sure if anybody on this call has taken the Boulevard Direct, it's called, but it currently makes 8 total stops along a 10-mile route. And it takes about 30 minutes to get from one end to the other. And this is in comparison to another bus route that exists, which is Route 14, which has 80 stops along that same stretch, and it takes, you know, closer to 50 minutes. So as you can see, it really cuts down on the amount of time you know, needed to travel from one portion of the boulevard to the other. These buses also run every 15 minutes, so they're pretty frequent. So, you know, ultimately, it's improved the public transportation along the boulevard. And as I mentioned, you know, there's a big program, Route for Change. There's going to be a lot of other wonderful changes along the boulevard that we're going to see really help improve safety and accessibility and mobility on this corridor. Okay, and I think there might be one more picture. Yep, and then this is just a nice picture of what one of the stops looks like now. Okay, and then I'm going to really quickly touch on the New Jersey project I mentioned. This one's going to be quick, but I wanted to mention it, so I mentioned something outside of Philadelphia. This is a project we're working on for the New Jersey Department of Transportation, and it is a mid-block crosswalk improvement project. And what we're doing is we're improving the pedestrian safety at mid-block crosswalks in central New Jersey. So what Urban did was we prepared conceptual designs for several crosswalks in central New Jersey by taking into account the uniqueness of each location. We also used, you know, nationwide best practices and DOT policy examples throughout the country to really develop the criteria to help select the best safety measures for each location. And some of the concepts that were incorporated included ADA ramps and features. We did pedestrian scale lighting, which is lighting designed to improve the visibility of pedestrians and to make their path brighter and safer. We installed some of these rectangular flashing beacons, which are these you know, signs here, and they light up, you know, to help warn cars to slow down, so that, you know, the pedestrians have a safer crossing. There's higher visibility crosswalk markings, signage improvements, pavement markings, raised crosswalks. So a whole bunch of different concepts were developed. And again, they were different at each location depending on, what was happening at that location. So again, while these improvements seem minor, they really have a big impact on improving the safety and accessibility of pedestrians and non-motorized users. So that's everything I had. With that, I guess I will turn it over to Rob to introduce Anna.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that. And once again, if you have any questions, encourage you to put them in the chat, and then we will get to them at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to Anna Lynn.
Cool. Thank you, Rob. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to try and tie this all together. And I don't see the screen advancement, so I'll just request the next slide, please. So again, Vice President Strategy and Planning at Amtrak. I've been here about 18 months after Rob said in my introduction, having been in consulting for like 30 years prior. So never say never about going to the other side. There's always an opportunity to see what it's like. I'd done consulting for about 25 years for Amtrak, or during my time as a consultant. So it has been, I knew about this much of Amtrak, and you come in on the other side and it's just a whole bunch more to learn. Pretty crazy. So on the next slide, as Rob had mentioned in my introduction, just the different departments that I have under me right now is corporate strategy. So developing our overall strategic plan, and then also planning. So planning is kind of the classic planning, if you will, what I'm most familiar with, or what consultants like urban engineers are familiar with, the planning studies of how we're going to grow and how we can improve our existing assets for both the Northeast corridor as well as the rest of the country, which we refer to as the national network. Also have the sustainability program and team under me. Talk a little bit about that. And I have commercial services too, which I didn't know this before coming to Amtrak, but we have charter services. We have private cars that operate on our network. And we also provide some services for commuter rail agencies, provide the staff to crew the trains, as well as maintain some commuter rail fleets across the country. And soon to be added to my team will be a stations planning person. So basically, I have my finger in lots of different things within Amtrak, and it's kind of maintaining what we have, making it better, as well as growing the network and taking advantage of all the federal funding that we have in place. So the next slide has some examples of our system, just some quick stats with 40 routes across the country. Which constitutes over 21,000 route miles. We operate 300 trains every weekday. We have 500 stations in 46 states, and those stations are ones that Amtrak owns, as well as ones that other entities like cities or other regions might own, and we lease the space there. We're growing in our employment. We have 23,000 employees as of right now. 29 million riders as of last year. And what the upshot of it is, and what my job is really focused on, is that we have more demand for our service than we actually have seats. So in terms of our business on the next slide, this demand for riding the trains, it's growing. We're back to where we were pre-pandemic, back in 100% with our service and with our ridership. So grateful for that. We're focused on making our current equipment more efficient, taking that same train set and making it run more efficiently so that the turns at the ends are quicker. We see that, our Northeast regional trains, the trains that run on the Northeast corridor, for instance, we're at over 100%, 117% of our pre-pandemic levels of ridership. So anything we can do to make those turns quicker is what we're working on. In terms of our construction, you may be familiar, maybe not. There's a new group that was stood up about 2 years ago within Amtrak called Capital Delivery. And with that, that's kind of our construction arm, if you will. And they're charged with rebuilding, fixing up assets such as the Portal North Bridge, such as the Frederick R. Douglass Tunnel in Baltimore. And as a result of this, we're poised to become the largest construction operation in the country next year. And so our goal is doubling our ridership from kind of those pre-pandemic levels to by 2040, and also reach net zero by 2045. So we're a year ahead of you, Princeton, with Michael. So doubling our ridership, how do we get there? So what we're doing is, you may have heard of the Federal Railroad Administration's Corridor Identification and Development Program. And through that, there were 69 grants awarded, kind of seed money, if you will, from the Federal Railroad Administration to either expand service on current corridors, providing additional service on current corridors, or providing new corridors altogether. And Amtrak's involved in some of those. We'd like to be involved in more, but the majority of them are being championed by entities outside of Amtrak, such as state departments of transportation. So we have growing our network there. We're also advancing I mentioned federal funding. The IIJA, or Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, has provided us with a kind of a down payment on fixing things that really we've been needing to fix for a long time. So we're making station and infrastructure projects. And if you're in Philadelphia, you know 30th Street Station is one of those that you'll see is under renovation right now. And the big thing that I'm focused on right now is fleet, and making sure that we have enough fleet, as I like to say, butts in seats, that we have the capacity to be able to provide and serve people who want to ride our trains. So we have procurements underway for both the Acellas, so to replace the Acellas on the Northeast Corridor, the Aero trains, which will be our Northeast regional trains, as well as some of our state-supported corridors, and then long-distance trains to replace those. And all of these procurements for the fleet are all going on in parallel. Pretty intense. So on the next slide, I like this graphic. Folks, maybe transportation nerds are familiar with this. I think this came out like 2005 from the Regional Plan Association, RPA. And it just shows, it's a really cool graphic that shows just where people are living and kind of where those hubs of activity are, and showing, for the Northeast Corridor, which probably a lot of people are familiar with, as well as the Great Lakes region and kind of in the Midwest, and where are these like clusters of people, and what does that mean? And, understanding that there's multiple cities along some of these in these regions. So, the next slide shows our network and overlaid on that. And you can see there at the solid line is where our Northeast Corridor is, and our state-supported routes, with the dashed lines being our long-distance routes. And there's some glaring omissions. I mean, some of them are served, some of them aren't. There's some circles that aren't served. For instance, I look at Front Range, and you can see that, a vertical line, there's nothing kind of connecting, we go across horizontally, but not vertically. So, some work to be done, some opportunities that we have at hand, and that's what we're working through Corridor ID to make happen. So on the next slide, it just shows that, we have new riders. It's interesting to note less business travel and more leisure travel. And so a lot of these new leisure travelers are new to Amtrak. So it's making sure that we're able to provide them with a safe, comfortable, enjoyable experience, and making sure that they become repeat riders and tell their friends. So the next slide is just showing our capital delivery. And I mentioned it's a new group stood up within Amtrak. And 3 of the buckets that they're working on are infrastructure. You can see that it looks like Portal North Bridge up right before you get to the tunnel that heads into New York. This is in New Jersey, which is, I think they're about a third of the way done the construction of that. Fleet, I mentioned the 3 different fleet procurements that are underway, and also stations. There's a major stations group that is working to advance the large station projects, but then there's also, our medium-sized stations and our smaller stations, and all of these are in various, states of need. Some of them need to have accessibility improvements to be in compliance with ADA, and others we need to make sure that they're ready for growth coming up as we double our ridership. So the next slide demonstrates how we're just one piece of the transportation puzzle. You can see we provide high-speed rail, and intercity passenger rail. We provide transit. We want to provide those connections to transit, kind of making that seamless connection. We want to make sure that we're the first mile, last mile is convenient through active transportation, and that you can get to our stations easily. And then finally, it's kind of the conventional rail, looking at both, our longer distance services, as well as some of our corridors that might be emerging coming out of the IIJA. So with that, I will wrap up and say that we're, working, incessantly focused, demonstrating that we're good stewards of the IIJA funding and that we're working to build a more accessible, easy to access, and more frankly, enjoyable and beneficial transportation network. So Rob, I'll wrap it up there.
Great, thank you. And once again, I saw there were a couple questions in the chat that Michael and Jen answered. Thank you. But if you have any others, feel free to ask away. And we had 3 really great speakers, kind of fascinating to hear from a university, from a design consultant firm, and then what Amtrak's doing with high-speed rail for the country and all the connectivity that goes with that. And so I guess I'll ask a couple questions. And while we're waiting and see if anybody has any. So Michael, with the EV with the buses, some of the challenges I guess that we've heard are weather is sometimes a challenge with the EV buses, and then also just making sure they have enough of a charge. I know you're kind of working in a certain demographic area, but how do you make sure that they're always functioning, and have you had any challenges with the ongoing kind of climate?
Good questions. Let me start with the latter. They are really functioning fantastic for us. I mean, of course, you have those growing pains when you're adjusting not only the mindset and behaviors of your drivers, and so they have to get used to driving an electric bus. And so we're looking at certain things that we normally wouldn't look at, particularly as you're mentioning the state of charge. And what does that mean when you're trying to do multiple routes or one route? And now we have to look at it during the summer and winter because there's differences for both. But overall, I would say we have been very happy with what's going on. But we've also, and I'll have to say this is from our executive director, Charlie, before I joined, he went out in advance, probably a solid year or more, to different locations around the country, a lot of time in the West Coast, and did a lot of peer exchange and a lot of fact finding. And that was where we really learned a lot on what they were doing and what they were looking at from not only the infrastructure and some lessons learned that we have a little bit of an advantage too. And so that would be one of them is we run the majority of our fleet off PSE&G, but we have those 5 dispensers, as I mentioned, 2 chargers based off the Princeton grid. So if one of those different sources of electricity were compromised, we have a backup. So we feel confident that that was a good move. That was something that we thought about in advance on how we set ourselves up. The other situation is we were quite surprised, I would say, when the winter came and temperatures were below 30 degrees. We did not realize that the software program wasn't really set up to do preconditioning, where power was being drawn from the batteries when it was off. So therefore, when it was time to start it, it wouldn't have enough power. So we realized, troubleshooting and again, talking amongst our peers, that, so we have to leave the bus on when it's below 30, but not technically on, but on. And so therefore the battery now is not being, the power is not being drawn from the battery, it's being drawn from the charge. And the bus is now, it will operate safely and it starts right up. So once we figured that out, we said, okay, so we have to do some, some software adjustments. And so we're working with MCI New Flyer on what we could do to handle that. So there are those nuances that you find as you work through your particular region, which we have done. We're fortunate, I guess, to say we got 4 seasons. So we got a little bit of everything. But overall, we're very happy. And I'm actually looking for 2 new shuttle EVs, and I'm looking for 2 new passenger van EVs to add to the fleet. So we're still learning. And if I can just say what we continue to do, and we've done it, we had a peer exchange with over 30 plus organizations, from the West Coast across the country. And then I also did a smaller peer exchange with New Jersey Transit, local programs. And we all came in and sat down and talked about what everybody else is doing. And so I guess that would be the best thing I would recommend to anybody getting into the EV world.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think there's a lot of the EV money is out there and opportunities there. And there are some transit agencies, I think other universities, other private vendors are still reluctant on EV. So the better, systems we have and examples and sharing, I think is very valuable to help make that decision and provide that comfort for people to know they'll have the performance. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Annalyn, there's a question here. So can you talk a bit more about where Amtrak is the lead on station access and multimodal connections versus state and local agencies?
Oh, sure. So in terms of access, when I think accessibility, ADA 2029 is our goal to have all of our stations accessible from a ADA perspective. But from a multimodal perspective, it's something that we kind of partner with the local municipality. If there's opportunities for us to fund a study to in some of our larger stations in particular, it's something that we're very interested in, and it's an area that our CEO is very interested in to kind of make the access to and from our stations as frictionless as possible. So, partnering with a state or local DOT is definitely of interest, and any station renovation projects that we're doing, it's my goal as we build out kind of our stations planning expertise to make sure that the multimodal access, the sidewalks, the curb cuts, the bike parking, transit access, the pickup drop off are all considered at the forefront of those efforts.
Okay, great. Thank you. Makes a lot of sense, right?
Hey, Rob, if I could just chime in, I wanted
Sure.
to tell Anna, I want to give her kudos to her team at Amtrak. We work closely with Shauna Johnson. And so that's also, something I would share with everyone that, partner up, talk, and
Yes.
keep the lines open. And we've been able to really do good customer service for not only Princeton and the university community, but the township and also the ridership that's utilizing Amtrak in the Northeast Corridor.
Go Dinky.
That's great. So, Jen, quick question for you. So, Urban does work, Philadelphia, New York, LA, and as you're trying to do these projects and get to see working with different governments, different cities, different areas, what are some of the maybe challenges, and then what are maybe some of the opportunities or lessons learned from that?
From working with the various, different entities. Yeah, so I guess that, there's challenges because every, region, municipality, agency, they have their own guidelines, they have their own way of doing things. So, you just have to get to know them, learn it, obviously use your past experience with them, use your relationships that you have with those organizations or with others in the region, and, learn from them. And it's also, while there can be challenges, you can also bring some of the insight that you have with other municipalities or entities and bring those to, other municipalities and entities. And I think it really helps them learn from each other, even if they might not communicate on a day-to-day basis. Like you mentioned, we're working with folks in LA and also out on the East Coast, and those, entities aren't always talking. And so I think it's just a great way that we can be somewhat of that link there and provide them with some lessons learned and some, best practices, bringing them to different parts of the country.
Okay, great. And you're doing great work too. So thank you.
Thanks.
So we're going to wrap it up today. It's at the hour, and I wanted to thank Michael and Jen and Annalyn for all their great work and for taking time out of your busy schedules. We really do appreciate that. And thank everybody for joining us and celebrating Earth Day. And I'll just wrap it up with one of my favorite people, Jane Goodall, who I think is the epiphany of or she's Earth Day in so many ways every day. And one of her quotes is, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." So hope you look at that, and if we can participate with you in doing that and help you in any way in the mobility space, we would love to do that. So thank you again. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you again to our speakers, and to Maureen and Caitlin, thank you as well from our team. So have a great day. Thanks.